Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to a brand new video here today and some more F1 2020 career mode. Today we are here for the next race and that is going to be the Hungarian Grand Prix. If you guys missed the last episode at Silverstone, my debut race in the Red Bull team, guys, then I'll leave it linked up in the top right hand corner of your screen. But with that said, we now jump into today's video and more specifically the Hungarian Grand Prix. This weekend we have a pretty decent weather forecast. Things are looking pretty decent moving forward. Also, in terms of R&D, we do have a aerodynamic upgrade on the car this weekend, which means we stay ahead of Ferrari, but the gap to Mercedes is still very much a big issue, and we need to try and fix that as soon as possible. And you can see we do have an upgrade on the way for the engine, as we've got the power circuits coming up next after this race. So with that said, we move into practice here at Hungary this weekend, and more specifically practice 1, and we're going to hit most of our practice program targets around here. It seems like this is going to be a great chance for us actually to get some big points. The track seems to really suit the car, and even in practice we had really good pace. So I want to see if I can try and cash in and maximize the potential of the car around here, and try and maybe compete with the Mercedes around here this weekend, because they've been so quick so far this season. And you can see after practice we scored a pretty decent amount of R&D points between myself and Alex Albon, and also on the Acclaim now very close to level 9 as we now move into the laptop. And you can see we have confirmation that Kimi Raikkonen is actually going to be retiring heading into next season, which may trigger some pretty interesting driver moves on the market heading into season 2. So we'll keep an eye on that, and it's interesting to see how things go, because of course Verstappen currently is out of a drive. He's just sitting on the sidelines waiting. So will Max go to Alpha? Will there be some other movements which might trigger Verstappen to be in a top drive, for example? You never know. It's going to be interesting. Either way, with that, we now move into Q1 and qualifying. And again, expectation here is to get to Q3 at least, and then see where we are, and hopefully it all goes well. So here we are then on track. We've got a little bit of traffic actually on this time lap here in Q1 in the form of a Haas. Unfortunately, the Haas was on an installation lap, but right about this point, he was getting ready for his own lap, so he's not going to move now. So we're going to have to just accept the dirty air, and hopefully it doesn't affect us too badly as we now make our way through the final corner. Right in the slipstream, we get a bit loose there due to the dirty air of the car in front, but we do go P2 and half a second off of Bottas's time, but still a good lap nonetheless, a 1:13.4, and that was enough to go through into Q2. You can see Leclerc managed to go quicker than us, Albon only P12, and Hamilton only P9 there, but with 1:13.4, that was enough to get into Q2. And speaking of Q2, this was my best lap in the Q2 session. So let's go for a quick lap of Hungary. So down towards turn number 1, you're looking at the 100 and the 50 meter board. You want to try and break in between the two of them. Down to third gear, be patient on the throttle, then pick up the gas on the exit as we now make our way down towards turn number 2, the left-hander. Down to fourth gear, possibly third for some extra rotation. We do run a little bit too wide and miss our apex, but we do get a very nice clean exit as we now make our way down the hill to the end of sector 1, and now up through the hill over the left-hander, not using too much of the track limits, trying to keep it within the 4, keep trying to get at least 2 tyres within the white lines. We now make our way down towards the chicane. Easy to lose the balance here. Try and be patient in fourth gear to really carry that momentum as we now make our way through the end of the second sector and through these S's, these flowing lefts and rights. All about having that confidence in the car, that downforce to kind of throw the car in and knowing it's going to stick. And we set a purple sector 2, now making our way into the final sector, 90-degree right, try not to run too wide there, to now open up a 180-degree left, the penultimate corner here, keep it nice and tight, then use part of the pit entry to make the track as wide as possible as we now go into the final corner, keeping the car nice and tight to the right, and then letting it run wide on the exit. With DRS open across the line, we set a 1:13.4 once again, and we go P1, and that lap was enough to get into Q3. Eventually, other cars around us would improve due to the time simulation glitch, where I pretty much simulated time ahead to the end of the session, and it didn't affect us too badly. We still went through in P5 quite comfortably, both Red Bulls into Q3, and we set the exact same lap as Q1, a 1:13.4. The one in Q2 was slightly quicker, and we now move into Q3. This was my first time lap, and to be fair, it was a very scruffy lap. It was very messy, but it was very fast. And you can see currently we are the last car yet to set a time. So here we go then at the final corner, opening up the DRS. We're going to cross the line and set a 13.2, which is 2 tenths quicker than what we've done so far. And that was good enough for P5. And we're just behind both Ferraris. But you can see on the end lap here, the engine wear, we're going to be dealing with this race. I'm using a bit of a worn engine this weekend because it is Hungary, so power isn't that important. Either way, we now get ready for our final lap of the session, and this was the best lap of Q3. How good was the lap? Can we get any higher than P5? Let's find out. Let's go for a full lap of the Hungarian. And here we go, out of the final corner. What a lap this has been. And we're going to improve by half a second. An unbelievable lap in Q3. And we go P2 after that. So there we go, front row of the grid. And we pull a special lap out the bag right at the end when it matters the most. Into the 1:12s as well. And we just miss out on pole position. We had it pretty comfortably, a 10th. And just over a 10th actually quicker than Charles Leclerc for P2, so that's great news for us. But Hamilton was just a bit too quick here today. We also went 8/10 quicker than Alex Albon, but overall a great qualifying, really strong pace, and the car working really, really well. So the signs are looking positive. The question is, do we have the race pace? We're about to find out. First of all though, let's go into an interview.
Who would you say is your biggest rival at the moment?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think there's lots of options, but being realistic, I think probably someone like Valtteri Bottas.
It's always good to qualify at the front, isn't it?
Of course, it gives you the best chance of scoring some big points, and the team put the work to get us there.
It's got to be a relief to qualify that far up the grid.
Yep, again, it helps, makes it easier, and hard work pays off. Simple as that.
Do you think this team are performing as well as they could do?
I'm not sure, to be honest. From the outside, it looks like they're doing okay, but I'm not too sure.
Great. Well, that's everything.
It's race day in Budapest as we get ready for another round of the Formula One World Championship. We don't expect too many retirements at this track. There are plenty of current and former drivers with flawless finish rates here. In particular, Ralf Schumacher. He made it across the line in all 10 of his Hungarian Grand Prix starts. We're northeast of Budapest for the race today at the 2.7-mile Hungaroring circuit. 14 corners here, 8 to the right and 6 to the left, on a track where downforce is king and passing is notoriously difficult. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are 3 main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Martinez completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Bottas, Sebastian Vettel and Albon, Ricciardo, Gasly, Norris and Carlos Sainz, Stroll, Magnussen, Nicholas Latifi and Ocon, Grosjean, Raikkonen, Sergio Perez and Antonio Giovinazzi. Russell and Daniel Kvyat completes the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
And with that, we now move into the race. And here we go then on screen right now. We have the strategy. The plan is to go for the one stop, the soft tyres onto the hards on lap 8, more or less, and go for a very straightforward one in terms of the strategy. Fuel-wise, though, we are going to underfuel the car by half a lap, so 34.5 in terms of the fuel here today. And that's to try and help get a bit more out of the soft tyres, make the stint length a bit longer, and hopefully have a bit more of a smoother race. But with that said, we now move into the start of the race. Here we go then. The lights are coming on at the Hungarian. Let's see what kind of start we get. It's Hamilton P1, we're P2, lights out and away we go. Look at this, good start actually, getting the traction in second and third gear, and we're now side by side with Lewis Hamilton down towards turn number 1 though. On the brakes, we run in a bit too hot there, running a bit wide. Hamilton on the cutback underneath, he's going to get back alongside and actually gets back in front of us, to be fair, and retakes P1, so I may have lost my chance. I'm going to try and go around the outside of turn 2, but there's just not enough grip and not enough momentum there to make that stick. So Hamilton holds on for now and reclaims P1 as we go into sector 2. But I get the absolute perfect run through here, and I'm going to go down the inside of the right-hander, and that is a brilliant move for the lead of the race from absolutely nowhere. We catch Hamilton out, and a brilliant overtake there to go first place in the Hungarian Grand Prix. And oh my goodness me, that came out from absolutely nowhere, and I don't even know how I did that so smoothly or so cleanly, but it worked out, and it's one of my best moves I think I've done in a long time, and that's going to give us the lead of the race as we now cut all the way on to the end of lap 2. And you can see we're making this lead stick, and Lewis now 1.4 behind. DRS is now enabled, and we set a new fastest lap, and the plan was simple: build that 1 second gap to be out of DRS range and just keep pushing, you know, and try and build a gap, because there is a chance strategy will be key today, because those outside the top 10 starting on the mediums going for the one stop, once we box and get rid of the soft tyres, we may fall into that traffic. So it's important to pull away as much as possible and use these soft tyres to full effect. So you can see in the top left, as the laps tick over, we're now 2.8 seconds clear of Lewis, and we're just pulling away here progressively lap after lap, and the car was working well, and the performance was very consistent. But we then move on to lap 7, and it was around this point the soft tyres were starting to struggle. There was a lot of understeer. You'll see here through the right-hander, the car just completely washes out wide there, had to get out of the throttle completely. The gap to Lewis 3.2, and just a couple of corners later he got the gap down to 2.8, and he's now going to go into the pit lane, and so do a few others as well, including our teammate Alex Albon, and we're going to pit the very next lap. So we're doing this to cover off, of course, the undercut from Lewis. We had a 3-second gap, so we should be okay to be out ahead of him. Lewis may have, you know, rejoined in traffic, you don't know. So we're going to take no chances and cover off the undercut, and we're going to box this lap. It was our scheduled pit stop lap anyway, so it makes perfect sense as we maximise the pit entry. You can see Magnussen there in P3, Latifi, Stroll, all those guys on the mediums. As we're going to box now, let's see what kind of stop we have. It's going to be 2.4, which isn't too bad, to be fair. And like I said, these guys in the mediums, it's interesting to see where we feed out compared to these guys, because these are the guys that are going to hold us up on strategy. So here comes Magnussen, he goes by, but so does Latifi and Stroll and Sainz and Ocon, it looks like. And after that, we should be able to rejoin just behind them. So there we go, Giovinazzi and Raikkonen actually are behind us in the Alphas. So it looks like both Mercedes have been stuck behind the Alphas, and we've got a couple of cars between us as we get very close to Ocon there, almost losing our front wing. That was very close. Either way, look at this now, through the final corner, around the outside, using the grip of the fresh tyres. We're going to make a lovely little move on around the outside of Ocon here, and it's now going to be a straight drag race down towards turn 1. We've got the better line on the outside. We're going to go really late on the brakes around the outside, use the momentum, and there we go, we swoop past up into P5. Meanwhile, you can see in the minimap at times, both Mercs are stuck behind Giovinazzi and Raikkonen, and of course both of those cars running Ferrari engines, therefore they're really competitive on the straights, as we're now behind Carlos Sainz here, and then out of the blue, down the inside on the brakes on Carlos there, catching him out. You know, he wasn't expecting the move, and I think I caught him unaware. He didn't defend the line, and we make a nice tidy move up into P4 now, and we are carving our way through this traffic. I could wait until the pit stops, but that's very boring, so I thought, you know what, let's have a little bit of fun and try and make a few overtakes. And we're now behind Lance Stroll here in the Racing Point. You've got, you can see a pretty good run out of there, actually, to be fair. And Stroll goes defensive. We're going to go to the outside, though. We almost lose our front wing in the process, but we make yet another bold, beautiful move around the outside there, and we move up into the top 3. And we're now behind Mr. Nicholas Latifi, of course, driving in my old car from a couple of races ago. He's running pretty well in P2 here today, and we get a bit loose out the final corner there, just picking up some oversteer, but we are still crucially close enough to maybe try and go for a bit of a lunge into turn 1. Do we go for it? Maybe not quite. We back off at the last second and think better of it. We get a much better exit out of turn 1 this time, though, and we're much closer heading down towards turn 2. We're going to try around the outside again here in this corner. Can we make it stick? Oh yes, we do. Latifi leaves us plenty of room, and we take it. Thank you very much. And we're now up into 2nd place in the Grand Prix, and only one more car remains, and that is Mr. Kevin Magnussen in the Haas car. And here we go through the final corner, opening up the entry to get a nice aggressive exit, and we're going to open up DRS, use the overtake and the rich mix, and here we go. You can see we're struggling to make a bit of a dent on the straight, but now we finally get alongside, and we're going to go down the inside on the brakes. A nice straightforward overtake, and nice and tidy for the lead of the race. And there we go, we are back into P1 on merit, making all the overtakes count, and some very nice overtakes, in fact, with those. So happy days as we now start to increase our lead and open up a gap out front. Moving on to lap 17, though, you can see behind us, Charles Leclerc retires from the race, actually, and some of those medium tire runners have also pit as well. Let's get a replay though of Charles to see what happened to him here. He's actually behind both Mercedes cars, you can see, and they're stuck behind the Alfa of Giovinazzi, and it looks like Charles just pulls over, actually. Maybe some kind of gearbox issue or electrical issue, because there's no smoke out the back. Either way, Charles Leclerc out of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and now Magnussen and Giovinazzi in the top left eventually do come in for their final pit stop. So that is going to be pretty much releasing Mercedes into the clean air. And you can see, because both cars were trapped behind the Alphas, they've dropped to about 17 seconds behind us, which is absolutely incredible at half race distance. And that's how much of a benefit having no traffic or less traffic makes around here. And you know, positioning is key around this circuit. You can see on the bottom right the engine wear midway through the race, not too bad, but this is definitely going to be a bit of a push for the turbocharger and the MGUH. And you can see, meanwhile, Bottas has got the gap down to 15.6 to make that 10.6 now, all the way on lap 33. Bottas actually setting a new fastest lap, to be fair. And I was cruising, you know, I was trying to save the engine, but at this point, because I lost the fastest lap, I had to respond. And the very next lap, I charged everything up. I made sure to not kill my tyres off, so I had some tyres left at the end. And we are absolutely flying on this lap. You can see a personal best sector 1, a purple sector 2, and now making our way through the final few corners here. We're going to see if this lap is going to be enough to claim back our fastest lap. Currently sitting on a 117.1. What is this lap going to be? It's a 116.5, and that is a really strong lap and a new fastest lap of the Grand Prix with 1 lap to go. We now cut onto the final lap and back to engine saving. We now make our way through the final corner, lap 35. Bottas 8 seconds behind, and we have cruised here today to a dominant race win at the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Nice work, that's P1. Race win, well done.
It's a performance to be proud of today from our Hungarian Grand Prix winners. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
We then look at the final race results, and you can see we pick up the win. And to be fair, like I said before, it was dominant, it was comfortable, but we didn't get the fastest lap, it seems. That went to Sebastian Vettel in P13. We wouldn't have got it anyway because Bottas did manage to go slightly quicker on the final lap anyway. That's a bit inconsistent though, because the top 10 are the only cars that count in terms of getting the fastest lap. So Bottas really has been screwed out of an extra point there, to be honest, by the game, which is a bit inconsistent. We then move into the driver standings though after that race, and we move up into 4th place, overtaking Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel. So making progress. Like I said in the last episode, the target is to try and get to that 2nd place. I think that's definitely achievable. I think making a title push might be a bit steep, especially because we are doing a 16 race calendar, a shortened season, and we've only got about 6 races to go. So I think it's going to be a bit tricky to try and challenge for the championship, but if we can try and close that gap to 2nd place, that would be pretty awesome. We then move into the constructors, and we are still comfortably in 3rd place, and the gap between Ferrari and AlphaTauri now, both ends, is actually pretty much exactly the same, around 70 points now. So hopefully we can try and push forward and close in on the cars ahead, more specifically the red cars ahead of us. But guys, with that said, that is it for the race here at Hungary, and we're now going to move into a quick interview before we wrap things up on the laptop.
You took the top points today. Was it a comfortable win?
I can't lie, it was great today. The car was unbelievable, and it was pretty comfortable, to be fair.
Well, looks like your luck has changed. Things went a lot better than last weekend, didn't they?
Yeah, I think last weekend was a bit of a consequence of joining, you know, a new team mid-season, but this weekend we was much more prepared.
We all underestimated you, didn't we?
We knew what we could achieve this weekend when we arrived, so it's great.
You had a close battle today, didn't you?
I think so. You know, it was close in terms of pushing us, you know, each other for the fastest lap, which was good fun.
Great. Well, that's everything.
And there we go then. After the race, we look at the rivalry breakdown, and to be fair, we both scored 4 points each, so the rivalry off to a draw after the first race here today in Hungary, and that's going to be a very close battle, I feel like, moving forward. We also level up on the Acclaim and go up to level 9 after that race win, which is great. Our first win of the season as well, by the way, so very, very happy with that. And we then move on to the laptop. You can see on the top left, we do have some upgrades on the way for the energy store cells. That is for the engine, because we've got the power circuits coming up very soon. And we're going to add yet another one to that, and it's going to be a minor one. Both of these upgrades are for the ERS. Whether the upgrade arrives in time for the next race, I don't think it will, but hopefully we'll have that on the car for the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. With that said, guys, you can see on the screen right now, we are now at a summer break. So we'll go away for a little while, and we'll come back swinging for the second half of the season, hopefully with some, you know, upgrades, and we can try and push on and, like I say, get that 2nd place in both the drivers and also the constructors championship as well. If you guys enjoyed today's video, drop me a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel, as it would massively help me out, guys. We've recently hit 50k subs, and I'm hoping to try and push that forward even more, guys, by the end of the year, so any help would be massively appreciated. Also, guys, on the screen right now, you've got 2 videos you might want to check out, and hopefully you guys enjoy them. But that's it from me here today, and I'll see you all next time for the next episode at the Belgian Grand Prix. But until then, take care, and it's goodbye from me.